Hey there, YouTube. What do I think of the book Eloquent JavaScript? Is a question I was given. And it's kind of fun that somebody asked this question. Even though we're not going to cover JavaScript till later in the beginner boost, I want to say how much I love Eloquent JavaScript. I always have. Of all the JavaScript books, and believe me, I've studied all of them. This one is my favorite. It's my second favorite, actually. There's another one. Honestly, I can't remember the name. I'll put it in the comments. I haven't seen it so long. It was made by a French guy. It's just very direct. What are my criteria for selecting a good JavaScript book? First of all, let me just say my criteria are not the same as somebody who is going to be a programmer. By trade, my choice of what book is best is what book teaches the fundamentals of programming and particularly the better parts of JavaScript without getting into its warts. And I'm going to refrain from commenting on all the other books out there. There are a couple books in JavaScript that get me very angry. There's a couple that I literally hate. I hate them. They're so bad. I'm not gonna. Yeah, you're gonna want to know. You're gonna have to come watch me. You're gonna have to ask me off the record officially. So because I'm not gonna throw it under the bus right now. Let's talk about what's good. Let's talk about positive things. Okie dokie. Eloquent JavaScript is good because it covers very basic things in a nice, organized way. Um, and one of the things I really love about it is that it introduces you uh, to functions, but not just functions, to first class functions. So see this right here, defining a function right here. This is one of the primary criteria for me on a JavaScript thing. As you see here, it says a function definition is a regular binding where the value of the binding is a function. And I gotta just say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for writing this the right way. The reason this is so important is because if you're teaching a new person about programming in general, they learn about variables, they learn about data types, they learn, basic data types like what's a string, what's a number, this kind of thing, what's a letter. And then when it comes time to talk about functions, most books will, and other languages, frankly, will dive into this kind of confusing side quest that talks about, well, you have to do this and this and this. But the reason I like this so much is I'm going to emphasize this. Functions are just another data type. That is literally the meaning of a first class function. That means that functions are just like any other data type. They can be assigned, they can be changed, they can be reassigned, they can be thrown around, they can be passed as arguments, they can be returned from a function. And if there's one thing that JavaScript does really well, and people are surprised to hear this from me, it's dealing with first class functions and functions, and frankly, the original idea behind object oriented programming, which, and I quote Jim Coplane, allows the language to adapt to the mental models of the user, of the programmer. And class-based object-oriented programming, such as languages like Java, and once again, I quote Jim Coplane, one of the Agile Manifesto signers, big-time deal, you cannot code object-oriented programming in Java. And I quote again, who here codes JavaScript, he said, and you have a good chance of being able to code true object-oriented programming, the kind where you can adapt. Part of the adaptation is allowing functions to be reassigned at runtime. Now, some people will cringe really hard right there when I said that. And we could debate another day about whether you should be able to change the behavior of a program while it's running. But whether you agree with that or not, that is the definition, the original definition of object-oriented programming. Go look it up. So this is why I am such a fan of Eloquent JavaScript, because almost all of the JavaScript all the books that talk about JavaScript do not do it this way. Now, the only thing this could do better, that I would like it to do better, would have it to be a modern version of this. Instead of having it be the word function, if it actually used the modern JavaScript's notation, which allows you to simulate, greatly simplify this using this very functional syntax, the arrow function. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And again, this is another reason that I really love JavaScript. I love how almost Lispy. I mean, people call JavaScript Lisp all the time. There's people who regularly cite that it is really just Lisp in disguise. I don't know about that debate if I would go so far as to say that. But you see how this is constant here? That's because you can't change that once it's been defined. But if you were to not have that be a constant, then it would be a dynamic behavior and it could be swapped out. The problem is you'd have to make sure it was, synchronous, but JavaScript does everything. If you're a beginner and you're trying to decide what book to get, this is one of the best books to get. It's also free. So there are a number of things that I don't like about it. I am kind of on the fence with regard to semicolons. We will cover all of this, by the way, when we do JavaScript. We're going to learn JavaScript and Python and Beginner Boost at the same time. And the reason for that is because I want to draw a really strong contrast between the languages that are doing the same thing. Two interpreted languages. Interpreted means it's a little loosier-goosier. And we're going to show you, because this right here, you can do something like this, but you cannot use anonymous functions in Python in nearly the same way. You can, they have a thing called a lambda, but it's not the same, I promised you. So why would you care about that? Well, that becomes an issue related to what kind of languages you want to use, why you would use the language. This video is not about that. So this video is answering one question. Should I use Eloquent JavaScript to learn JavaScript? And I think you should. I think it's a great idea. A downside of this, though, is that remember, this does not have a lot of, they have changed it since last time. I mean, there's the arrow function. They added it. What? No way. That was not there when I first reviewed this something like 6 years ago. Well, back at SkillStack, there's the arrow function, my friends. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, I just love it. I love the fat arrow functions. I just think they're so gorgeous. I wish Go had it. I really do. But whatever. It's just I like JavaScript. I legitimately like JavaScript as the syntax of JavaScript. There are a couple of places that it gets a little bit messy. So, for example, semicolons. I'm a fan of no semicolons, but I could be convinced to add them back. If you're a beginner, you should put them in there because they're there, but they can cause problems actually. So you don't have to have them, but you should have them because there's a few edge cases. I'll do a whole video on that if I haven't done it already, whether you just use semicolons or not. But one of the downsides I was going to tell you is that down at the bottom here, there's not a lot of projects, functions with side effects. A function with side effects is not a function anymore. At least it's not a true function. Oh, there we go. A pure function. See this? Look, it's telling you about this stuff. This is another reason I love this. It's actually getting in what's the difference between a function and a not. Nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about these very important things that beginners need to know from the very beginning. No one talks about this. This is so, like, you read most books out there about JavaScript. They don't even touch that topic. So this is one of the reasons I really like it. A feature introduced with IE. I don't know about that. I did not know about that. About the whole semicolon thing. There are arguments both ways. Let's not have that argument now. There is a problem, if I remember right, with them not having. I remember they were a little light on project ideas, and they do talk about Node.js, which you can't escape talking about JavaScript without talking about Node.js. And they also talk about the DOM, which is, technically the DOM is outside the scope of JavaScript, but since JavaScript was specifically created to manipulate the DOM, it's like talking about C without talking about Unix. C was invented to create Unix. So JavaScript was invented to manipulate the DOM. Therefore, not talking about the DOM in a book about JavaScript is kind of, would be wrong, right? So we want to at least talk about the document object model. Does that put this entire book into the sort of, underneath the web development realm? It kind of does, but I mean, let's be real. JavaScript is for web development. It is. You can do all kinds of other things with it, but at the end of the day, JavaScript was created for web development, and it will continues to be for web development in whatever form, and it's still primarily good at that. You know, it's one of those don't cross the streams things. All right, so that's it. I guess that's kind of the end. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here I forgot. Project a robot. My favorite project, by the way, if you're looking to do a project, this looks pretty cool. This is, I don't remember this project being there before. Was it always there? One of my favorite projects to do in JavaScript is to make an interactive story game. And I don't know that we're going to be able to do that. We might do that actually. That might be our major project. And so yeah, you're in the video now. So that's pretty much it. An interactive story game. Make a story game where they can type in kind of like Zork, right? The really great thing about doing it with JavaScript is you can actually put like jump scares and Freddy Fazbear kind of things into your, so they can like be thinking they're playing this text-based adventure on their, you know, their interactive text console in a web page, and all of a sudden you can like surprise them with something. It's really fun. And so yeah. So that's my opinion on Eloquent JavaScript, and we'll make other videos about if you have questions about other things.